Hello, this is James for the Clean Energy Show, a weekly podcast on how the world is changing through green tech over the next 10 years. Listen, this is my prog from NCM. Yeah, I got it. I happened to get it for 1100 Canadian without paying tax on Amazon. But shortly after I bought it, it's gone up and stayed up. I think it was an introductory price on Amazon.ca. So this is the Canadian version. It's limited to 32 kilometers an hour. I've already done a review on that, so check it out. My initial impressions. This is a year later, and I wanted to show you the upgrades that I've done. None of these upgrades are necessary, but as I am a obese man, I will show you that I upgraded the seat. The saddle is a little more plush. It's probably not the best one out there. But it's a little more comfy than the stock saddle, which is kind of cheap. But if you're a light, normally weighted person, it'd probably do you. I thought this bike was excellently spec'd out of the box, and I've never had a bike that I haven't had to adjust the gears on it. It's just everything has worked on the drivetrain flawlessly. Yeah, so I'm really impressed. It's got an Altus derailleur, which is much better than the Tourney that you see in a lot of bikes, even at the same price, that aren't electric. So I thought it was a very good value. I think it's about 53 pounds. It's not piggishly heavy, but it's pretty heavy. Now, I used to mountain bike, so I liked to have some better forks than came with it. Most bikes under, I don't know, 1,500 or so Canadian, of any kind, come with lousy forks. They'll come with Suntour spring forks that are very heavy and don't work very well. They're kind of like a pogo stick in the front, but they're the kind of stock fork that you see on most bikes. I would say maybe even under $2,000. And like I say, they're heavy and they don't work great. They're okay if you're a normally weighted person and you're commuting and just having fun on some trails, but I occasionally like to do some light mountain biking over bumps and roots and things, just to give myself a bit of a thrill. So I upgraded the fork to an air fork that I happen to have lying around from my other bike, and it is a RockShox Recon SL. Yeah, so that's an air fork, and I can tune the air pressure in there with a special fork air pressure pump that I had to buy on Amazon. And it's not something you change very often, but I just tuned it to my weight, and it works very well. So it's cushy, but it's firm, and yeah, if you run into trouble, you're not going to go head over your handlebars going down a hill and hitting a depression or something. So yeah, and I do like the grips. The grips are the same. I bought a water bottle holder. I had one sitting around, so I clamped it onto a new stem that I bought. You can adjust the comfort of your bike, any bike, by the length of your stem, which is $20 to $40 usually for an entry-level stem at a bike shop. You can adjust the height, how far it goes up, how far it goes forward, until you're comfortable. I'm about 6 feet. This is the 27.5 incher. I probably would have got the 29, but the 27 is probably just as good. So I'm probably somewhere in between. Although, yeah. So I put a 26-inch wheel because it's a 26-inch fork on the front, and I put a big fat tire there to make it as thick as possible. So I really do enjoy the fork. The fork is about, I'm not sure, $300. I know there's some from China that you can get off of Alibaba or on Amazon. I'm not sure how they work, but an air fork is what you're looking for. You want to compare the weight. RockShox, this is the entry. This is basically the fork you need to buy if you want an air fork. A lot of times mountain bikes come with front suspension, and they really shouldn't. You'd probably be better off with a firm, rigid fork than not having that cheap suspension. Mind you, the suspension that comes with this bike probably works for most people, although you may have to get it tuned up after a few years. I'm not sure. So yeah, very happy with the bike. I did change this just because I had it around, the seat post and the seat, as I said. That is this holds onto the battery. The battery goes on there. This is the controller, which is part of the battery unit. that's great. You do have to lock it, or the battery sometimes will pop off. I lost it once and had to comically wedge it between my legs so it didn't hit the ground and break. So yeah, I would recommend locking the battery when you put it on, just for that reason. It doesn't come off easily, but one time it came off for me. Most of the time it hasn't. So yeah, I'm just really happy with it. I think that if you were a person buying this for your commute on pavement, a lot of people buy electric bikes for commuting to work as an alternative to public transportation and other things. You don't need tires like this. This is a mountain bike tire. You can change any tire on any bike to more suit you. So this will be softer with tread, so you have a lot of rolling resistance. This will resist. It'll take some of the energy away. A road bike, you'll notice the tires are very thin and hard. Well, you can sort of do that with a bike like this. You can make this basically a bald tire from a bike shop and higher pressure, for instance 80 pounds, and it'll give you a bit stiffer ride, but you'll roll easier. You'll get more range out of your e-bike, just like you do in electric cars. When you pump up the tires a bit higher than normal, you'll get more range because there's less rolling resistance. So yeah, I bought this bag just to put stuff in because I did find that I was going a further distance, so it was nice to sort of keep some things with me, a granola bar and a phone, and safely, and so some bike tools at the back, which I've never had to use. This is a mud guard, not the best, and doesn't really work for this particular setup because the tire is just big enough to fit into the fork, so it doesn't leave any extra room. But there are some splash guards that can wrap around with sticks here to prevent you from getting splashed if you're using it as a commuter bike in rain and so forth. I'm extremely happy with the bike. I have no complaints. This is the throttle, which apparently you don't get in the UK. But other than that, it's just been a fantastic value, and I have zero regrets, and I'm very impressed with the NCM brand if you're looking at other models. I did upgrade the back disc brakes to liquid. What do you call them? Damn, I can't even remember. I must be having a stroke. Okay, hydraulic brakes. I did upgrade the rear. I didn't need to. I had the hydraulic brakes around from another bike, so I put them on for the hell of it. Yes, it's a little bit better, and yes, when you're an obese man going down a steep hill, you might want to use one finger to stop you instead of all of them. But I'm very impressed with the brakes on this bike. The disc brakes are mechanical that come with it, but I don't see a need to spend the money to upgrade to the hydraulic. So, you know, people ask me, one of the most frequently asked questions I get is, should I upgrade to the Moscow? And I would say no. I would say buy the NCM, the lower end one, and upgrade the fork, especially if you're going to go off-road and do some trail riding or even some mountain biking. Definitely upgrade the fork if you're going to do that, and buy the cheaper bike. The brakes are surprisingly good. They work better than mechanical disc brakes are supposed to in any right work, especially with a heavy bike and a heavy man. So very impressed. So every week we have the Clean Energy Show podcast wherever you get audio: Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts. Wherever you get audio, we have a podcast with myself and co-host Brian Stockton, and you can listen to it for free wherever you get audio. And we talk about electric vehicles, solar, wind, everything that's changing rapidly, and how the world is changing in this decade of the 2020s. So thanks for listening. I'm James. If you have any questions, I will gladly answer them in the comments. Ciao.